stating the fact that, let me start by stating the fact that we did make a provision in the 2022 budget for fuel subsidy for January to June. And that suggests that from July that there will be no subsidy. And this provision was made sequel to the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act that has made a provision that all products will be deregulated. Subsequent to the passage of the act, we went back and amended the fiscal framework that was submitted to National Assembly to incorporate this demand. But after the budget was passed, and we have had consultations with a number of stakeholders, it became clear that the timing is problematic, that practically there is still heightened inflation, and also removal of subsidy will further worsen the situation, thereby imposing more difficulties on the citizens. And Mr. President clearly does not want to do that. So what we have to do now is to continue with the discussions that we're making in terms of putting in place a number of measures, one of which is the deployment of an alternative to the PMS, which is the CND that my brother and colleague will speak to, and also the rollout of enhanced refining capacity in the country, including the 650,000 barrels per day Budgetary refinery, and also the rehabilitation of the 4 national refineries that have a combined nameplate capacity of 450,000 barrels per day. The increased refining capacity in the country means we will need to import less products. But also, as we're discussing right now within the executive the possibility of amending the budget, we may need to come back to the National Assembly by way of amendment to make additional provision for fuel subsidy from July 2022 going forward, or whatever period is agreed is the right timing. So, Your Excellency, Mr. President, I just want to put you on notice in that regard. And also, while we're exploring ways and means through discussions with various stakeholders in the executive, but as well as in the civil society and the labor unions, to explore ways and means by which we can address this removal in a manner that is graduated and that will have as minimal impact on the citizens as possible. So we'll come back to make further amendments on the fiscal framework as well as on the in the 2022 budget. Thank you, Excellency.
President of the Senate of the Federal Republic, let me just rest on the protocols already established at this point. Mr. President, sir, I really would especially thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and resolve issues around the law and around subsidy removal. Thank you very much for taking this leadership, because as far as I'm concerned, I think this at this point is squarely a legislative issue. The law has been passed, we are all aware, but that no law is cast in stone. It is clear to everyone that it is at this moment in operationalizing the law not possible within the 6-month framework that has been provided for in the law. And if that framework, that time frame provided for in the law is not feasible, and which has come to us as a result of operationalizing the law, then it is also a legislative responsibility now to see what can be done to extend that time frame so that it can be within the purview of the law. Secondly, the other legislative issue arising from it is what the Honorable Minister of Finance has also alluded to, the provision for the subsidy that is not there after March. So these are all legislative issues, and that is why, for me, I had to, after June or July, sorry. So these are all legislative issues, and that's why, frankly, I find it very expedient at this time to thank you very much for rising up to this responsibility and calling us to this table and giving us this chair. It is very clear. It is clear to the blind and audible to the deaf that it is not possible at this time for us to remove the subsidy. We know that some naysayers, some political people will try to make political capital out of it, but it is not within the contemplation now of this administration to remove subsidy. But of course, if there are legislative enablers that will also ensure that it is within the law, then I think it's a legislative responsibility, and that's why we are very much in the right place to be discussing this matter today. Thank you, Mr. President.
All in search of ways and means of ensuring that ordinary Nigerian does not suffer any hardship, that when the subsidy will be removed, eventually, it will be at such a point at which the hardship will be very minimal and would have been taken care of by several programs or projects or empowerments. And it's not about NLC. NLC, how many people are in NLC or TUC? We're talking about every Nigerian, and NLC is just an organized part of the system. But we are concerned beyond the NLC. And I'm taking this opportunity to appeal to TUC and NLC to share this plan to go on strike or demonstration is totally unnecessary. There is not going to be removal subsidy, so there is no need for this. Please, let's not create unnecessary tension where there should be none at all.